13 is the right answer, so 29% of you got it right. There were originally 13 colonies in the United States, so that's why there are 13 stripes and 50 stars. Anyway, going on to the next thing. So these are general communication tips that I've gotten through reading case studies as well as just things that I've learned from my own experience. One is that patients are not objects. I've seen my parents' medical textbooks. They're complicated and you remember a lot of information. And a lot of times you're looking for certain cues for what problem this patient might have. But that patient is not an object. That patient is a person, and there's a lot of things that come with the whole package. And that needs to be appreciated as well as known. If you take the time to let them know that you know that they're a person, and that it's a person-to-person relationship, they'll be more open in discussing their problems, and you'll have a lot easier time diagnosing as well as just getting your intent across, as well as getting your job done quickly and efficiently. Next, remember, you know more than the patient. It's sometimes easy to get frustrated with a patient when they don't do something correctly. You give them a simple task. Check your blood sugar levels on a regular basis. I'm referencing this only because I've heard my dad talk about it on the phone numerous times. But you wonder why this patient just won't do the simple task. Well, you know the things that come with checking your blood sugar levels. You know how important of a thing it is, what it indicates. But that patient may not know. And if you're able to convey it to them in a way that they understand easily, you're more likely to get the results that you're looking for. You're more likely to achieve what you're trying to get in that situation. This is simple. This has to do with anything and everything. Speak slowly. If you rattle off information really quickly, it's easy for them to get lost in translation. It won't sound like a language that they understand, but a completely different language. And while we think of languages as like English, Tamil, Spanish, Japanese, etc., medical professionals do speak a language of their own. We normal people don't understand sometimes. That's how it is. But when you speak slowly, they're more likely to understand. And this isn't anything. I mean, even when you're speaking to your parents or anything, the only time that people speak fast is when they're angry or they're trying to confuse you, like our teachers tried to do when we didn't do our reading assignments. But those are the only times that you speak fast. Otherwise, speak slowly. It's a simple change that you can make to your speaking habits and to the way that you deal with patients or to the way you deal with any situation, actually. It's a simple change that you can see big results. Avoid complicated language. Make it simple for people to understand. And again, that's with anything. When you're speaking a language that someone doesn't understand, or teaching a new concept, you try to avoid the terms that you know and try to make it simple for them. Let's see. When a pre-KG teacher is teaching their children, they're not going to speak to them with a high vocabulary. Instead, they're going to make it simple for them, while these students learn the grammar, learn the basics of the language before they can progress and add more things to it. It's as simple as that. When you do it like that, the patients are going to understand. I'll give you an example of when I was a little child. I needed a shot for some reason. I have no idea why. And my doctor could have tried to explain to me as saying, you need it for this so that you can avoid this disease or this problem or these consequences. But she didn't. You know what she did? She drew a smiley face on my arm. And then she said, hey look, your smiley face is missing a nose. And she put the injection where the nose would have been. It's as simple as that. I was a kid, I was happy. My smiley face had a nose, and she got the job done. She simplified it for me, for why she was sticking a needle into my arm. Simple language like that, simple situation, best results. Eye contact. important even in presentations. When you look at somebody in the eyes, you'd be surprised what kind of connection that you can have with them. I mean, when somebody's looking up, looking down, or looking to the side, you get the feeling that they're not listening to you, or they're not actually talking to you. When I get in trouble with my parents, they always complain about this. They tell me to look at them in the eyes. So when you're talking to a patient, make sure to look at them in the eyes. It's the same thing as speaking slowly. It's a simple change. It's not that difficult to look at somebody in the eyes, but it can have big results. When you're looking at them in the eyes, it's showing them that they're not an object. Showing them that you acknowledge the fact that they are a person with personality, characteristics, and much more than just a medical problem, medical issue, or just there for a general checkup. Answer all their questions. I've said this before, and somebody asked me, do you know how many questions patients can have sometimes, and how little time we have to answer them? Sometimes the patients that have the most questions have them because they don't have confidence. They don't have confidence that you're going to give them the right answer. So if they ask all the questions and they get all the answers, then they assume that, well, if you're wrong about a couple of them, at least you'll be right about a couple of them. But if you inspire the confidence in them that you know what you're talking about, which all of you will be since you've studied these things for years, as long as you inspire that confidence in other people, their questions will be minimal. And if you can address those questions, you'll have a lot fewer problems because they'll be more open and they'll have less questions in future checkups, future appointments. Watch the patient's facial expression. This is a key component of communication. We a lot of times look at just what people say or what we say. But the thing is, a lot of cues are just on a face. Somebody can say that they're happy, but it can be very obvious on their face that they're not very happy with the situation. And if you watch those cues and you change the way you say something, or you adapt to that and you use that situation, you change based on their facial expression, a lot of times it can have a lot more positive results. For example, if you say something and a patient's facial expression shows that they're confused, and you can make it a little bit more simple for them, they'll understand, they'll go home doing the right thing, knowing the right thing. But if you assume that they know what you're talking about, with my friends, and back home, a lot of times we say, just smile and nod. That's when you have no idea what somebody's saying, and you just smile and nod at them as if you know what they're saying. So what if a patient does this to you? It's not necessarily a good thing, because they might go home with the wrong idea. So if you can look at their facial cues, maybe you can avoid such problems. Next thing, almost even more important, watch your facial expression. Sometimes something might sound scary just because we don't understand it as a patient, but for you it's a very simple thing. But if your facial expression shows the stress from a previous case, or the stress of being in a time crunch, or just not having a good day, that patient may think that they have a big problem and that there's something very, very scary about what you're saying. But that may not be the case at all. Or if you're just unnaturally happy for some reason and you just happen to be smiling about something that you shouldn't be smiling about, that may also give them the wrong idea. Facial cues are sometimes hard to avoid because that's the one thing that we have a hard time lying about. It's easy to say something and lie, but very